Okay, well, good morning. Good morning. This is Yarrow Kubrin. Not so high,
Sorry
but
about
high at 9 News.
Something's, man.
Boy, oh boy.
My article today is about one of the beautiful sunshine states where I reside, and this is hot off the press from CNN. Pot farm next door, black market weed operations inundate California suburbs, cops say. I think probably the most important part of that headline is the comma that says cops say. Antioch, California. Just after dawn on a recent spring morning, police dressed in tactical gear and armed with a search warrant pounded on the front door of an upscale home in a quiet suburban neighborhood an hour outside of San Francisco. When no one answered, the officers with California's Department of Cannabis Control, which polices the legal sale of marijuana in the state, took a battering ram to the steel-reinforced door. When the door didn't budge, they used a power saw to cut their way through a fortified back entrance and into the spacious five-bedroom property. Inside, investigators found precisely what they were looking for: evidence of yet another black market marijuana operation hidden in plain sight amid the cookie-cutter homes of suburbia.
It just looked like he was having a stroke.
They removed 80 pounds of weed from the pricey two-story home in Antioch, California. With curious neighbors looking on, they repeated the spectacle twice more on the same block that morning in late April. The raids filled a dump truck with $1 million worth of illicit weed cultivated by unlicensed growers. Although cars were parked in the driveways, no people were found in any of the homes and no arrests were made. Among California's marijuana cops at Cannabis Control, Antioch has developed a reputation as a hub for high-yield, covert indoor grow operations. They have raided at least 60 alleged grow houses in the city over the past 2 years and suspect well over 100 more remain in operation. But that's not all. Investigators say the illegal pot production in Antioch provides a glimpse of a hidden world, one that mirrors a trend playing out not only in California, but in states such as Oklahoma, Oregon, New Mexico, and Maine. Groups of people with apparent ties to foreign countries, most notably China, producing weed in colossal volumes. A CNN investigation has found that in this unassuming city of 115,000, the minimal consequences and hefty rewards for producing illicit marijuana in huge volumes has led to a whack-a-mole pattern of enforcement and a brazenness on the part of the participants, all while neighborhoods look on in dismay. The unlicensed operators, which can cause house fires and mold, often leave homes in a severely damaged state. Properties deemed uninhabitable by the city after raids are sometimes quickly rehabbed and sold for much more than the prior sale. Blame the real estate market for appreciation. Throughout, operatives in the scheme are seldom held accountable. The dynamic in Antioch is a microcosm of Greater California, where lax laws on black market weed are doing little to change the state's status as a gargantuan producer of it. The Golden State, whose cannabis enjoys a global reputation similar to that of Napa Valley Sonoma County Wines, produces about 40% of the nation's weed, the vast majority of it by unlicensed growers, according to Bo Whitley, an economist who specializes in the cannabis industry. The runner-up state, Oregon, produces less than a fifth of California's output, he said. Bo, I don't think you have a grasp on the black market, but good try. Anyway, this means California is fueling a massive underground economy as 3/4 of the U.S. marijuana market is illegal, Whitney says. Law enforcement officials, including former DEA leaders and FBI Director Christopher Wray, attribute much of the activity nationwide to Chinese organized crime. In Antioch, the operators bear the hallmark of a Chinese criminal syndicate, said Bill Jones, chief of law enforcement at the California Department of Cannabis Control. He added that the criminal network made up of Chinese nationals has become the dominant presence in the state's illegal cannabis trade over the past 5 years, eclipsing Mexican cartels. Law enforcement officials say they've seen evidence that the activity in the Antioch amounts to organized crime, citing the sophistication of the operations and apparent coordination of some of the people involved. But they declined to elaborate, citing ongoing investigations. A review of search warrants, online property records, and interviews with neighbors of some of the raided homes show that the vast majority were owned or occupied by people with Chinese names in a city where Asians make up about 15% of the population. The home that Cannabis Control agents had the power saw their way into belongs to Samson Liu, a police officer in nearby Oakland, California. Can't make this stuff up. Cannabis Control declined to say whether Lou lived in the home or had tenants, citing an ongoing investigation. Lou's home not only contained what police said was 80 pounds of illegal marijuana trimmings stashed away in piles of garbage bags. Officials said it was also extensively modified for the sole purpose of cultivation. The doors were fortified, the windows were boarded up. A heavy-duty generator sat in the laundry room to maximize power. Silver industrial air ducts snaked in and out of rooms for ventilation. Almost every state, include even the most liberal, Jason, said the federal government considers the cultivation and sale of unlicensed marijuana a serious crime that carries felonious level fines and prison time, according to CNN analyst of data from the National Organization of Reform of Marijuana Laws. But in California, feds say recently they've largely taken the hands-off approach to marijuana. And under state law, any amount of illegal weed, save a few exceptions, such as a culprit being a registered sex offender or selling it to a child, is a misdemeanor offense. As for the house owned by Lou, the Oakland police officer, cannabis control agents have referred the matter to the Internal Affairs Division of the Oakland Police Department because they are so accountable, but have made no arrests in connection with the contraband. CNN's efforts to reach Lou by phone, email, and a visit to his home were unsuccessful. The Oakland Police Department told CNN it is cooperating with law enforcement agencies in investigating the case as a personnel matter. He was placed on administrative leave, which means he's probably still getting paid, the day of the raid in late April. Despite the large loads of marijuana and cash taken during roughly 60 raids in Antioch since 2002, only 2 people associated with busts in the city have been arrested and charged. Both were given misdemeanors, according to records provided by Cannabis Control. So, Antioch has the most raids of any city in California. And allow me to scroll down. It did not seize the homes. Half were fixed up and sold by the original owner after the bust. We call that a flip. CNN identified one real estate agent who has had a hand in selling 4 of the 60. That's not a conspiracy. A review of online records shows that she herself owns one of those homes, from which $937,000 worth of illicit cannabis was seized in December. So let me get to the bottom line here. This article, which goes on and on and on and on about stealing electricity and marijuana homes sold at elevated prices, basically says that the biggest problem now is the inability to enforce against unregulated cannabis because we have state legal programs. I was astonished at the throwback perspective of this article, because the truth is, after the passage of Proposition 64, aka adult use in California in 2016, the gauzy, vague medical paradigm where there was an affirmative defense model and collectives actually became much more cut and dry. And now, based on real estate zoning, single-family residences in dense or slightly suburban environments are never allowed to be used for regulated cannabis production. So it is actually easier to enforce against cannabis grows in homes than it was before. And so I don't necessarily disagree with the angle of this article, but I leave it up to the rest of my guests and cohorts to tell me what they think and feel. This is Yarrow Kubrin, High at Night News, Monday, September 2nd.
Man, I mean, this does not surprise me at all, Yarrow. Not one little bit. I mean, Antioch is a super ghetto fabulous community.
I think what you meant to say was Yock life.
No, I'm not. I don't like that. I don't like calling Antioch the Yock. I think that's a stupid name for it. But I did grow up in the town next door, Pittsburgh, and so I'm very familiar with Antioch. I've been grinded out there for a number of years in my pager days and whatnot. And so this is not surprising at all. I mean, I remember too when I was a kid in high school. I mean, meth was the big thing as far as in the houses, and I think 1 in 5 houses in Antioch was a meth lab back in the day. And there was all kinds of people that had little mobile labs in their cars and RVs and stuff all throughout Antioch. And so this does not surprise me, because around that time when they started developing the whole Hillcrest area and Deer Valley area and creating created Deer Valley High School out there. They built up all these really nice tract homes. And then they started turning them all into Section 8 homes because they started gentrifying Oakland and Richmond and a whole bunch of those communities, and they just moved everybody out from there to there. And so this does not surprise me one single little bit that this is going on, and that Antioch is the biggest illegal grow spot in the country. It's not surprising at all.
I think it's interesting that they were talking about that most of these are Chinese national grows, which is crazy because, I mean, I was reading an article the other day about border crossings in the San Diego area specifically, and like the fact that the, what are they called? Hyenas, whatever they are.
Coyotes. Yes.
Coyotes were really, really enjoying working with the Chinese nationals because they were willing to pay like $35,000 a person.
Yeah, they got money. They got plenty of money.
These border crossings. Right, they have plenty of money. They're coming here with plenty of money, so they might not be Section 8 homes. They might just be a home with some people that have a lot of freaking money, and they're like, fuck it,
most all those homes are all Section 8 homes, majority of them.
Well, that's like down towards Methyl Island, or like...
No. I mean, like in the nice area, like in Deer Valley and Hillcrest, all of those homes, they're the nice tract homes that all are Section 8 homes.
Damn.
What was interesting to me about this article was sort of the way in which it fueled the flames of previous concerns and showed pictures of grow rooms suggesting that it was all sophisticated. And when I looked at the pictures of grow rooms, they had linoleum lining the inside of an ebb and flow tray. Like that wasn't done 25 years ago. Like that's a throwback. That's not sophisticated. That's just rinky dink. And so, yes, are there still mom and pop indoor residential grows in residential environments? Yeah. But this notion that because the Chinese are involved, it's sort of an international or foreign conspiracy. It's hard for me because we've covered that in a couple different states. Both in, I think it was Maine, New Mexico. Now we're talking about California. It says that the population of Antioch is only 15% Asian, but there's a pretty substantial population in the Bay Area in general of Asian people, and I think it would probably or potentially be a higher statistic. My concern is, I remember what happened in World War II. I remember that the Japanese, not the Germans, were interned in camps. And it just feels a little funky to me that I haven't seen any massive evidence that this is somehow an international conspiracy that includes enforcement to validate those assertions. And, the American dream does include this notion of no risk, no reward. And so it's hard for me to automatically demonize all these people who are growing weed in their homes. And I don't trust the cop's opinion around value, especially when one of the homes was owned by a police officer. So I'm not so sure that CNN is doing anything other than clickbait, but I thought it was fun to read the article and share it with our viewers today.
I mean, back in the day, I wouldn't be surprised, though, because the police chief in Antioch used to do meth himself. So that doesn't surprise me at all.
Well, he had to work those late night shifts,
Yeah, behind the thin blue line, there might be a big white line. I don't know.
Wow, probably.
Wow. You have any thoughts on this, Mathieu St. Germain?
I just want to say I'm so glad I can hear everybody. I've really been enjoying the conversation.
All right, fair enough.
I think growing weed in just taking over houses and growing weed is kind of like passé. It is dangerous for the neighborhood. And
you think it's dangerous for the neighborhood? Really?
I did it too, bro. I blew up a 3-bedroom apartment at 52 Market in Venice back in the 90s before charcoal filters. So I'm not one to talk. We've all probably done it.
Yeah,
we've all done it. The only thing that's dangerous, Jason, it becomes dangerous when you have people who are stealing power and like finagling things and upgrading their power box without that.
That's fair.
If you haven't blown a transformer, sorry, Pueblo, Colorado, then you don't understand how shitty it can be for the neighborhood. But yeah, the transformer box was in our front yard. It was not a hot spot to be in.
I'm totally heterosexual, but the only thing I have blown is a transformer.
Was his name Megatron?
Well, clip that one.
Oh man, what was his name?
And the one thing I would say, there's two risks to indoor residential grows in homes in residential neighborhoods. The first is substandard electrical and the risk of fire that presents to neighborhoods. And the second is crime associated with a lack of security from an unregulated market. Aside from that, this idea of water damage and mold, you can have 3 teenage girls who don't know how to turn the fan on in a bathroom and get mold from the fact that you didn't have the window open venting moisture. So I think that those things are mostly overblown. And the idea that people sell homes for profit and that they felt the need to report that in this, guess what? It's real estate. People sell homes for profit. It's called appreciation. And in California, with a high cost of living and low inventory, the chances that a home is going to go up in value are pretty decent.
Fair enough. But it is an epidemic, and I didn't realize that there were so many Asian grows with such a small percentage of Asians in Antioch. But nonetheless, it sounds like 11% of the 15% are all illegally cultivating in Antioch, Yarrow.
They got the salt recipes and the Asian bubbas. Come on.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. We're going to keep this rolling. We're going to roll right into a commercial, and we're going to be right back.